3 expert tips that you need to do in order to help win your draft. All right, James, what's your first expert tip?
Pretty specific to roto leagues, but I think a lot of people, even seasoned players, end up leaving their draft without enough stolen bases. And one thing that I do when I'm kind of tracking my steals is I think about it with regards to position. And middle infield, shortstop, second base, and the 5 outfield spots are where you're most likely to get your stolen bases. So every time I'm drafting a middle infielder or an outfielder, I'm trying to keep track of whether that guy is a double-digit stolen base guy. And if they are, that's great. Check mark. If they're not, if you take a guy like Jordan Alvarez or Eloy Jimenez in the outfield, or you take a guy like Corey Seager at shortstop, then that's a spot where you're not getting that speed that you need out of those 8 spots on your roster. So then you have to pivot and take a guy like a Dalton Varsho at catcher who's going to give you speed, or a guy like Brian Hayes at third base who's going to give you speed. Or maybe you have a guy like Trey Turner on the roster already who's going to steal well over 20 bases, or Jose Ramirez, or maybe Bo Bichette, a player like that. But you really want to be making sure that with those middle infield spots and those outfield spots, you're either getting double-digit steals or you're getting those steals somewhere else. And if you're not doing that, you're going to leave your draft without enough speed.
If you do miss on speed early in the draft, is there someone in the middle rounds or even a little bit later on that could be your life preserver and get you out of that spot?
Yeah, obviously these types of guys come with their own set of flaws, but I'm not scared to take Miles Straw in the outfield. I mean, he's going to lead off, I think, for Cleveland. I think his defense is good enough that he's going to be in the lineup every day. And he's going to get on base. Like, he's not just your sort of rabbit who maybe has some weaknesses in his game that could lead to him getting demoted. I think he's going to be fine. I think he can get you 30 steals. He's just not going to help you with home runs or RBI at all, so you're going to have to get those elsewhere.
All right, what's your second expert tip for people drafting this week?
Yeah, this tip applies to all formats, really. I think you need to look at whatever website you're playing on. Look at the ADP of the starting pitchers. And then also, to the best of your ability, kind of rank your own personal top 40, top 50 starting pitchers and sort of see where the inconsistencies are. And then those are the pockets that you need to really be going after starting pitching in. So, for instance, I don't see any difference to me between Aaron Nola and Logan Webb, who typically go in the third round of a 15-teamer or the fourth round of a 12-teamer, versus, say, Dylan Cease, Alek Manoah, Charlie Morton, who go a couple rounds later. So with that in mind, if I'm on the clock and Aaron Nola or Logan Webb are maybe the top pitchers there by ADP, I'm not taking a pitcher there because I like guys just as much a couple rounds later. So I'm going to take a different position there. Even if I'm looking at my team and it's like, oh, I don't have a pitcher, I need to get a pitcher. That doesn't mean that you just have to jump into the ADP thing and grab the guy that it says you need to take there. Make sure you've ranked your starting pitchers and see where the pockets of value are for you compared to ADP, and that's where you go after your starting pitcher.
I think that's a really sharp strategy, abusing the default rankings, knowing that most people are just going to look at their default queue and use that as a guide within 5 or 8 picks as you go along. So putting those guys in the queue, setting them up and understanding where they are. All right, give me one more expert draft tip for people that they need to pay attention to as they draft this week.
Maybe your league just always waits on catchers. But I tend to think that closers and catchers are undervalued by a lot of players, especially in roto leagues. And the way that I approach catcher and closer is whenever I'm on the clock and I got like sniped on a guy that I really wanted, a position player or a starting pitcher, I just pivot to who's the best closer, who's the best catcher, and grab that guy and fill in those spots. And it could be early in the draft. In a 15-teamer, that could be as early as the second round. In a 12-teamer, that could be as early as the third round. So, we're all going to get sniped at some point in the draft. There's going to be a player that we're really eyeing up that, like, this is the perfect guy for me here. He gets taken. Then I just kind of move over to catcher and closer. And you kind of want to get those spots filled, I think, within the first half of your draft. It doesn't have to be in the first 5-6 rounds, but by round 15 in a roto league, especially, I want to have 2 closers. I might even want to have 2 catchers by then. I think catcher is still very undervalued relative to what you can get out of that position, even by players that have been playing for a long time. I think catcher is still a bit of a market inefficiency.
The best way to get ready for your fantasy baseball draft is the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Draft Kit. You can get it right now for free for 10 days. Free, no cost, no credit card. Just go to rotowire.com/try.